Brighton have just sold Joao Pedro to Chelsea for 60 million. And at first glance, it might look like we've just lost our best player again. But what if I told you this might be the smartest bit of business we have done? Nobody's denying that Joao Pedro is a brilliant footballer and one of the most influential figures in Brighton's history. However, it was time for him to go. And that's actually quite a common opinion amongst Brighton fans, and there are actually many that are happy to see he's out the door. But why is a player of that skill and influence leaving being seen in that way? Well, let me tell you. Let's start with the obvious. £60 million. For a player who only joined Brighton 2 seasons ago from Watford, that's an incredible return regardless of the player. Joao Pedro's 2023-2024 season was pretty close to brilliance, with 9 goals in the league and 20 in all competitions, including 6 in the Europa League, whilst also producing one of the greatest moments anybody has ever done in a Brighton shirt.
Pedro, this is the chance! Dean's it! What an important goal!
And that alone is worth 60 million. But the season that followed, while still being a great asset for the club, showed the first signs of cracks in the relationship. There are certainly times you could question Xiao's attitude, and I loved him, don't get me wrong, but I think he began to lose a lot of the fan base, especially after the final Brentford incident. It'd been boiling up all season, some fans were critical of how much he cared, and whether he was already ready to move on. And despite a couple of moments of leadership here and there, it was largely questionable, especially that final red card at Brentford. It was this point here that lost it for me personally. I was already at terms with the fact he was moving on, and to be completely honest, I was very happy to see that he wasn't actually included in the squad again for the remaining couple of games, despite serving the red card match ban. And that was even more so confirmed after it came out that after this red card, which is a diabolical red, by the way, especially after getting away with this one also against Brentford earlier on in the season.
The referee a little bit, I don't know.
That he had a falling out with Van Heck. And if you ask 95% of Brighton fans whose side they would be on Van Heck versus Joao Pedro, I think there's a very clear winner. After 2 big presences at the club falling out like that, there's only a certain amount you can take before it affects the dressing room, so again, it just seemed right that he had to go. Here's the part that might shock a few people. We're not actually going to miss Joao Pedro all that much. Yeah, he's talented, yeah, he's had some amazing moments, but Brighton's attacking depth is actually pretty crazy. Jorginho Rutta's versatility and work rate already make him a standout forward, and with Joao gone, he can really step up and thrive. Julio Enciso, when fully fit, is one of the most technically gifted young players in the league. Facundo Buonanotte coming into his own and brings energy and creativity off the bench. And let's not forget our new Greek signing, Stefanos Tsimas. The 19-year-old has some serious potential and could be another gem unearthed by Brighton's scouting system. And none of these are like hypothetical signings, they're at Brighton now, and this is how we have operated for years. Develop, promote, and when the time is right, sell smart. And Joao Pedro had just reached his part in that system. Every summer, Brighton fans brace themselves for the big sale. And look, if we had to lose someone this summer, I would take it being Joao Pedro over Matoma, Carlos Baleba, Jan-Paul Van Heck any day. Keeping the core of the squad intact, especially the guys that give us structure and identity, is something Brighton fans have been begging for. And I don't think it's an unpopular or rogue take to say that Pedro leaving affects us the least out of the other big money sales at the club. But that is also assuming that we don't lose any of those as well, because then it would just be sad. Now, let's talk about where Pedro's heading. Chelsea. Look, I'm not going to hide my feelings. I don't love Chelsea, at all. But beyond that, I generally don't think Pedro walks into that starting 11. Cole Palmer is Cole Palmer, and he's undroppable in that front line. He's also just, better than Joao Pedro. The lap is a more natural 9, and it looked like Joao was a lot less effective there for us. And then what? Is he going to go out on the left? I doubt it. It's just not as good there. So where does he actually fit? Is he just being bought as a rotational option for £60 million? It's not like they have another 400 players already in that ridiculously bloated squad, and they don't need more rotational players to fill in. For me, it almost feels like they've signed Joao Pedro because he was shiny and available, and not because they actually had a role that needed to be filled for him. So if you ask me, this could easily be another case of Chelsea stockpiling talent who then get unfortunately labelled as a flop. I feel like there were a number of better moves out there for Joao, other than seemingly the bumper money contract that Chelsea would have offered. What Brighton's doing is bigger than any one player. Fabian Hirschler has been brought in with a vision. He's already shown at St. Pauli that he values aggressive pressing, fluid build-up, and tactical flexibility. The squad is younger, hungrier, and being moulded in his image. Selling Pedro doesn't derail our ambitions, it just, funds them. We want to get back into Europe, not just for the occasion, but to stay there year after year and be competitive. And that takes moves like this that benefit both the player and the club financially and in every other aspect. So what does this mean for Brighton? Hopefully nothing bad. I mean, on the face of it, it's a move that works well for all involved, and selling Joao Pedro may be the end of a chapter, but it certainly isn't the end of Brighton. With smart leadership, a squad stacked with hungry talent, and a clear vision under Hirschler, the Seagulls are looking to improve again and get back into Europe to solidify their place. The future is bright, and it's only just getting started. If you believe in the rise of Brighton and enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and tell me in the comments who's the player you're most excited to see step up this season. And as always, thank you for watching.